Hello and welcome to The Slowdown, your time to redefine success and growth on your own terms with a little inspiration from others. We're back for season 4, recorded at Brazen Studios in London. From the outset of this podcast, I've really felt it my duty as host to bring to light stories that don't get mainstream attention. I'm interested in questioning what we've been taught to value in our work-obsessed culture. One of the things I've always held judgment around is the idea of being a housewife. Growing up with my mum, she climbed the career ladder and became a professor, and I just couldn't understand why anyone wouldn't want to or choose to work. But after years of chasing goals, building things, and burning out myself, I've come to see that choice differently, with empathy, understanding, and maybe even a little admiration. I've started to ask myself, if I could build enough of a passive income, would I stop working? Which brings me to today's guest, Katri Josling. Katri does not have a job title, awards, or even a social media account. In fact, she's so present when we spend time together that I haven't even seen her phone. And in today's world, I think that really is a worthy headline. Katri is a constant learner. Whether it's completing a new boating license, a culinary chemistry course to create the most amazing meals, learning her 4th language, going ski touring in Svalbard, or training her 2 giant Rhodesian Ridgebacks. She was also a high-powered consultant with a UCL degree in political science and an MA in European politics. She was working and traveling the hours that you can imagine, so when her husband's career took off, she had to make the choice between her own career and spending more time, when possible, together. I wanted to know more about her decision to leave work, how she finds purpose, and what architecting a world in that partnership looks like, and her view on it all now. In a culture where we are pushed to overachieve, where the only goal touted by media seems to be to have $1 million business, I want to share stories that make those who have not chosen to do that for whatever reason feel valued, worthy, and acknowledged. Listening to some of this top podcasts right now can leave you feeling that you aren't doing the right thing with your time. Like you must be doing more and more. But the truth is, you define success for yourself. And the more examples of success that I can share with you, the more I feel like I have achieved my mission with this podcast. And so I really hope you enjoy this wide-ranging conversation with my dear friend, Katri Josling. Hi, Katri. Thank you so much for joining me on The Slowdown.
Oh, pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, the funny thing is that you're not slow at all. You're one of the fastest moving people that I know. You ski and trail run and get things done faster than any woman I know. So the irony is not lost on me. On an average week, how much would you say that you run in miles?
You know what? I love running. Running doesn't love me as much as I love it. So I resulted in many injuries. So I'll try and limit myself to 10Ks a week.
Well, look, there's definitely a thread that I really want to unpick with you, which is around redefining success for yourself when you no longer have a career in the traditional sense. And I know that is a nuanced and touchy territory because, like me, you are Eastern European, hyper-independent, self-actualized. So I know some of these words can feel confronting, as I'm sure they are to many, many people in similar positions. But I love the life that you have built. I really admire it. And I hope that you trust me to go on this journey of your story.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, I want to take it right back to the beginning because I love providing context for people's lives. So where were you raised, by whom, and what were your kind of early ideas of success?
Oh, good question. So I was born in Estonia and my mom remarried when I was around 5 to a Swedish man, my stepdad. And that was it was late 80s. So the context around it is, the Soviet Union, and I will say this openly, sucked in every way and everything was terrible about it. But suddenly, in the 80s, there was glasnost and perestroika, and it was opening up. Foreign companies could come and JV with Soviet companies. The reins were starting to loosen, and I think, the West was becoming visible. And having lived in the USSR, right, and I'm a person who started with memories early, right? Like, I remember a lot of my very young childhood. It's amazing the difference of, how grey and shit the Soviet Union was, and it really was all the colors were faded, quite literally, everything was horrible. And then there's obviously the shiny West, right? Honestly, I think it's my mom, actually. Like, she married him, and it was very obvious that her marrying my dad was like this great statement of like her wanting to leave this horrible place. It was just like the USSR, like what a ridiculous thing. And like what a ridiculous thing for anyone to like want to go back to or be nostalgic for. Life was like faded gray, like it's awful. And so I think my early years were very much influenced, and until you ask this question now, I actually never thought about it, by the fact that I think she really like did not want to be there forever. Or not physically there, but in that system forever. And so I went to school, my first year at school, I went to Tallinn in Estonia. And I would have foreign notebooks because we could travel to the West, right, to Northern Europe and go to Finland. And I'd have Mickey Mouse notebooks, and I'd have like blue jeans that were like nice, and trainers with like Velcro.
Wow.
So cool. And so not just like crappy tennis shoes, right? And so I would go to school with my cool new notebooks. And I'm like 7. Like, of course you're proud of your cool Mickey Mouse notebook, right? And the kids would be so pissed that like I wouldn't be allowed to play that day because of my notebooks. So I think it was like all of that together very early was like, okay, like, definitely makes you want to break out of that, right? But we actually, ironically, then moved to Russia after that. So like, Estonia was still like the westernmost republic, right, where people went on holiday to like be in the West, in the Soviet Union, to sanatorium. Moving then to St. Petersburg, which was like deep Russia, and the Union hadn't collapsed yet. I mean, you really see then like which way you want to look. It's like East or West, and I think that, until we speak about it now, actually was a very impressing moment for me.
And then, did you know what you wanted to do or what you wanted to be when you were little? Like, how did you choose what you ended up studying?
It's funny. No one dreams of what I became, but it's I don't, not really. I think like I didn't really know what I would study. And I think when you're a little kid, I was like, I love animals, I want to be a vet, right? But also it's very hard to get to veterinary school, and it's a very hard physical job, and all those things you don't think about when it's like, yay, I want to work with animals at 8. Like, I think I didn't really know. My parents worked for Scandinavian Airlines, so I flew a lot and I loved it. And I guess for a long time I was probably like, I want to be a pilot. I probably would have loved to be a fighter pilot because it's very cool. But like that's not a real dream, right? That's just because I watched Top Gun and you're like, oh wow. But I think, and I'm very good at being present in life. I am a very present person. I think about what I need to right now. And I think when I was like 15, I'm like, I don't need to worry about that.
Right.
And I live like that generally in my life. I'm like, do I need to worry about this problem today? If it's not a problem for today, I'm just not going to think about it today. I will think about it when it's a problem. I'm going to think really hard and I'm going to fix it. But when it's time.
But that's such a great way to be, because I think I spent most of my youth just like stressing out about a hypothetical future. And I think when you're, I don't know, at least in London, being a teenager, you always wanted to be older, and you always wanted to you lived in some sort of hypothetical future that you may or may not have. And so then how did you pick, you went to UCL.
I went to UCL.
Political science.
Yes.
And Russian. So 4 years with a year abroad. How did you choose that degree there? What was your influence? So
again, back to the like, worry about it when you need to. I didn't really think about these things very much, but at school I did the IB program. I think in reality what I really wanted to study was probably biochemistry. My grandfather was a scientist, he was a geneticist, and we had a very like scientific environment at home. When I was like 6, he would do little like chemistry experiments, like blow things up, and like it was so cool. He would crossbreed his own tomatoes, and like there were flowers like gladioli that were like the Katri is what they called me as a child, not Katri. So there were the Katri gladioli, and the Tina, it's my mom, and like so we lived in this environment. And I think really what I wanted to study probably would have been like biochemistry, like science. That's definitely what would have suited me, what I should have done. Didn't have a great like dialogue with my parents about these things because they didn't really relate to my world. I don't think they could relate to like what it is making a decision in year 2000 about what you'll study. Like I just think they were stuck in their own world. So it wasn't useful advice, and I've always been very good at it. I'm like, if this is not useful advice, I'm not even going to ask it. And it's because it's not going to help. And so I just chose politics because it is interesting, and I loved history. And history was Second World War history, which is essentially, I mean, I'm East European, like, the whole thing was about Cold War and, World War II, Cold War, all that.
Things relevant to you, so you found them interesting.
And it was year 2000. It was very relatable because like the thing fell over 9 years before, right? And UCL was a really good school. And then it ended up being very relevant and very suitable to me and my story. But should I really have studied something else? Yeah. I just didn't know.
I like it tracks with the spontaneity of your life. Yes. And then you moved to London. What was it like living in London?
Oh my God. I came from a Swedish boarding school, right? 6 years in boarding school. And it was like pretty strict in the sense that we even had this program, the A&T program, alcohol, narcotics, tobacco. We really were policed. And I think that was good. We were urine tested randomly to make sure we didn't do drugs, which is, I think, really good for teenagers. Don't do drugs when you're 15. It isn't good for your life, right? And so, we'd go and like smoke in the forest, and we'd take like a twig and then we'd tie it around the cigarette, then hold the twig so your hands don't smell, because they'd smell your hands and be like, you've smoked. So like I came from this environment
to suddenly,
and they like
university
released me into central London. Wow. Couldn't believe it. I think I like subsisted on beer for the first 3 months. And I was actually surprisingly thin at the end of that, because apparently if you don't eat food and only drink beer, it's actually quite a good diet. It doesn't make you look very beautiful in the face, but and I was like, I probably should start eating now as well. But it was amazing. Like so good. But I lived in Shepherd's Bush.
I went to UCL too, and it obviously has a tendency of kind of, if you're, I suppose, somebody like you that's like, what's available right now? They very much push on you this idea of go into consulting, go into banking, go into finance. Was that something that then...
At the end of my degree, so I did a four-year degree, so I spent a year in Moscow.
And how was the year in Moscow after your childhood there?
So fun.
So it was totally different experience. Now it's like walls fallen down, oligarch central...
Totally. And like it was was it 04, 05 Moscow, like, and there was this hilarious song, this DJ Smash did a song called Moscow Never Sleeps, and Moscow never sleeps. Like, oh my God. And obviously, like, I guess I like also the fun in life, right? like if I go out, I don't want to go home. I love doing everything a lot that I'm doing in that moment. So we were studying at, I think it's called MGIMO, Moscow School of International Relations, or Moscow School of Diplomacy. It's where like Putin went to, and all the Russian politicians go to,
and all their kids.
And then these like super smart kids are like who graduated 16 who get like scholarships there. So it's like a super interesting place. We had very senior professors who spoke to us about Russian politics and Russia's position in global affairs or global politics, but from a Russian point of view in year 2004 and 2005. Super interesting. And then it's Moscow. Like Moscow's insane. Like they don't, like, nothing closes. Like, it's crazy, right? So like you have this wild time in Moscow, and you like are around these different people and just seeing the world through these crazy eyes. But it also sucks you in a little bit. So there are like many foreigners who go there, and they're like, then they move back and they can never leave, because like it's like this vortex. Like you need to like just like release yourself and be like, either I'm going to be here forever, or I need to run now. And then I went back, finished my degree in UCL. And then I actually did masters in Sweden, because I was like, I'm absolutely not working yet. Like, it is too soon. So I've done 5 years at university.
Like, how do I drag this out as long as... Well, the thing is, where we're from, at least in Serbia, degrees are much longer. This idea of like,
3 years.
I finished my degree in 3 years. I was 21 when I graduated. And it was like, here is the world of work.
Yeah.
Please
go be a consultant.
Like, go be a consultant for 18 hours a day. And you're like, wait, what? Like, I'm 21.
Yeah, and also, and it's even more so, it's like, it's not just be a consultant for 18 hours a day, but it's also go and try and consult to someone at 21. They're like, who are you? But that's kind of how, like, I guess that ties into what I then chose. Was like, you finish UCL, it's a good school, be a banker, a lawyer, or a consultant if like you want to make any money. And if you want like if you have good grades and you come from a good school, that's the advice, right? And it makes sense for my personality. I like variety and I get bored easily. And like, so you go to different companies that's just how that's how you end up there, right?
So you went and did this MA at Lund.
Yeah.
And then what was the first job?
I got a job in Sweden, actually, with a small consultancy, where I worked like 8 months while I was applying to the big ones in London. And then I got a job at Capgemini. And at the same time, I got a job with Google in Stockholm. And I said no to Google. And they were like, this was like 2008. And they were just like, what? Like, if it's about money, we'll just pay you more money. And I was like, no.
You wanted to be in London.
I felt like I'd studied here and I lived in Sweden for like a couple of years, and I was like, I need to come back here. I stand by my logic, but then obviously we will get to the point where it didn't last forever, right?
But then Capgemini consultancy, what does that mean for people that don't understand what consultants do?
Yeah, so basically this is management consulting, because now the word consulting is used for everything, but like in reality it's like this is the old school, like the one. You will come into a company and you will consult in either like strategy or operations or whatever it is, to try and improve their either top line or bottom line, right? Capgemini hired older people, a little bit older people, like I was like 25. A lot of us were sort of 24, 25, something like this, to have a bit more experience and you're not so very fresh. Because like if you come out at 21 and they train you, like you're still going into companies where people are like decades older than you, trying to advise them. And of course, when you're junior, like they hide you a bit more and you do like more of the running around. But you would go into a company, you do an analysis and design in a team, and then you implement your solution. I chose in the end, when I specialized, I chose supply chain and I did lean and operational excellence, which I thought was really interesting. And I worked a lot with food industry and also IT, which I loved less. And you would go in and in big teams. And, I spent a year up north, like in a factory in Manchester, helping like people like analyze and like run their machines better from a human performance point of view, right? Which is very interesting, but like lifestyle wise.
So talk to me about the lifestyle of that. Like doing that for a few years, what is the reality? Because there's a lot of people trying to get into that line of work. So there's a level of competition.
It's not an easy job to get. It's a huge amount of interviews and steps. You do psychometric testing and blah, 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 which all the big corporates do anyway, or did back then. I don't know now. And then you get in and they're like, you're one of 7,000. Know that. Like that's like the first thing they say to you. And then they immediately you get your contract. And well, when you sign before even starting, you get your contract. And then you get like, the waiver, the 8-hour waiver immediately. And then
what's the 8-hour waiver?
Basically, you're supposed to not work more than 8 hours. And then immediately you sign the thing that you waive your right, because that's not how it works. But it's kind of like, look, it is like, being young and going into that, you're in this team, this thing, like, it's like a mission, it's this thing together.
Exciting.
And you have your intake and like you're sent into different projects and then you have your project team. Yeah, it's kind of cool. And like, you're part of something and, like obviously you're earning well to what other people are earning at that age. And like, yeah, you work hard, but also at 25, like it's okay to work hard at 25. You don't need to sleep that much. And like nothing hurts you that much. Traveling every Monday morning and coming back every Friday afternoon, having a family, like it's like not great. Like I slept in my bed like 3 nights a week at best in London. And then I traveled to a hotel and then I lived in hotels. Very good for hotel points, but
not good for life.
Not good for life. But yeah, in that time, like it was cool and I don't regret it. Like it was amazing. I was just like, do I want to do this forever? That's a different thing. And then you rapidly also start getting underpaid. Because as women, unfortunately, we're not that good at negotiating our salaries. And that really is true. Like you looked at across the board, I think in a lot of industries, but in consulting it was very obvious. Women were constantly paid less because you have to negotiate your salary personally with no benchmarking. And we just negotiate less hard. We just don't ask. And it really was like hard because it's like these guys would come in and they're like, I'm amazing, I did this. And then in performance, that was not true. But it's just that first interaction and we just got paid less.
And I feel like you told me before once about this concept of up or out.
Yeah, so basically you have a grade, 1 is the best, 5 is the worst. If you're not at a 3, then you probably need to leave. So there's always competition, like I guess with yourself, but it's like, you have a lot of internal work you need to do. But people aren't trying to like trip each other up. Like there's enough space for everyone to work all hours of the day. There's so much. And you have to do client work. They need to do internal work. They need to do thought leadership, which is like trying, bring something, a new learning from a project, for others to use, right? So like you're very busy and you're very busy with your own competition against yourself, right?
Because you're always trying to go up the levels. You don't want to be staying the same. That's the interesting thing about consultancy.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, it's not just like
you need to get promoted.
Get this great job, be on this great pay, stay there for the next 10 years.
No.
That's not what they want you to do.
No, you need to be like progressing within the grade and you need to always be evolving, right? The problem is obviously because of the pay thing. Back then it was like, people would change companies quite frequently to get paid more because that's your ability to negotiate better, right? And then you have to sort of, your knowledge kind of yes, you learn new things, but you don't know the company. And so then you get like set back, or the company gets set back a bit, because you constantly have new people trying to understand how like the thing works, right? Because you're working on client side, you have ways of working that are different for each company. And then you have your own company that you don't even know, right? And so it's not very efficient to do that. But that is kind of the evolution. And the game sort of was like to not stay in the same company forever.
And so then at what point in all of that, living in London in your mid-20s, did you meet James?
I was 26 or we were 26. I met through a friend from university, and it was very random. We met and it was very fiery, and we lost our minds is probably a good way of describing what went down. And then we got married from 10 and a half months after our first handshake, having both been people who are like, we never, ever want to get married. Like, this is not our thing. And so we got married.
How were you converted to the idea of marriage in 10 months?
I mean, you're going to laugh now because this is the best bit, like the stories you can tell yourself. It felt rebellious. We were the first. So like no one's getting married. Like everyone had either lived together for a really long time and we're like, well, what do we do now? Or they had just broken up. 25 is like that milestone, where like it's us forever or like curtains, right? So many people were at the curtain stage. I'd also broken up with my ex at 25. Right. So like, everyone does the same thing in life at the same time, regardless of who you are. Like we all literally live the same life. It's hilarious. And so I met him and it was just like, unexpected and crazy, and it just felt like this like statement, this rebellious statement that we'll get married because no one's doing it, and so we got married, and it was like not traditional. We got married in Fulham Town Hall because we're like, we'll just do it quickly. I don't want to have a poofy dress because that's not my dream. I didn't have flowers. I wore a mini dress. My mom was livid. It was great. So that whole thing of like the shock factor, it definitely helped. But it was also funny because like you get married at 26, you don't really have very much, like you don't really have assets and things. And James had a flat, but like, a little flat, and like, and we were young, and so you don't really think it through, right? But marriage is actually like legally and financially a massive step. And like now being 41 and
still married,
thank God. But people around me, like, these things are dissolving now because like people are getting to age where like, oh my God, is it you forever? Because this is the next milestone. We're like, oh, not you. So again, these are moments that happen in life, right? Dissolving these things, it's very hard, right? Like with kids involved and a lot of assets, and like it's just very complicated. And we never thought for like a millisecond what this legal thing that we're doing is. And like, if you want to like break up, like you have to live apart for years. You have to go to court. Like, I mean, like it's so complicated, but we had like zero thought. We're like, yeah, cute. Like, like no one's doing it. We love each other.
But that's the presence, isn't it? That's you being like, right now, what do I feel like doing this? And what was James doing at the time? He's English and he was also working in...
So he was he was at Glencore. He's an oil trader. We then ended up moving abroad. We were really like in London. We're like, now, it's the next step because we're like, we did this thing. Now we want to do something else because we've been doing this for a long time. And I was like, I want palm trees and I want 30 degrees. And he's like, I got you. We're going to Lagos. Which taught me that I'm like, be more specific with your dreams.
Be more specific. But you moved to Lagos.
We moved to Lagos.
And what were you doing and what was he doing? Because I really want to get to the essence of if you were both running businesses, doing whatever you're doing, how little time you end up spending together, which was then becoming an issue.
Well, this was actually the interesting point, which kind of was like the precursor for how I have lived my life since. We go to Lagos, and obviously there's like we're two people moving together. I'm a consultant in London. You do not like that world doesn't work the same way, or didn't when I was there. Then probably not now either. But there wasn't like an obvious job for me to go to in Lagos, right? And so I was like, well, we're married, we're a team. Well, we can do this together. I didn't love, like, I think I was ready to move on from Capgemini. I wasn't necessarily ready to leave consulting, but I was like, it's time, like to try something else. So we're like, and me being me, we're like, fuck it, let's try it. Like, oh, well, like.
We'll figure it out when we get there.
We'll figure it out. And like, it's kind of like, I don't deliberate about these things for very long because sometimes you just kind of know it's your gut, right? You're like, you don't need that much more information because like either you want to do the thing or you don't want to do the thing, and you can deliberate, but you're still going to do it, right? And so we're young and we might as well try it. And so he was working quite a lot and I wasn't working. And that was, I'm, impatient, I'm fidgety, I run around and I end up in a place where traffic is so savage that like a kilometer can take you 2 hours. I didn't know anybody and I had nowhere to go because like there is literally nowhere to go outside your house. I mean, there are cafes, but in 2012 they weren't great. I'm sure it's better now. And the roads are bad, but I still had this mindset. You've been studying and university, and then you work, and you're constantly running. And I was like, oh, I've got free time, so I was like, I'll read books. And so I went slightly crazy, and so I read 22 books in one summer. But I'd set like targets, so crazy. I'd be like, if I don't read to page 400, I won't have lunch.
Oh, wow.
I know. When I was like later, I was like, why did I do
It's crazy. You take this mindset of do, achieve, strive with free time. It won't leave you. It's like this Western capitalist curse.
Yes.
It's like, how do I keep striving?
Yes. And I was like, I'm a planner, right? That's the thing, which is funny. It's like, I'm spontaneous, but I'm a real planner. I plan for everything. It's scenario planning, right? So if I make this decision now, what's the downside and how much time does it make to make it a better decision? Do I need to, right? And so for that reason, I was like, it's funny because the time thing is important to me. So I would easily I'd start time setting my reading. Like, what is wrong with you? And for ages, and I'm actually going crazy now. So I'm like, okay. And we arrived in Lagos in April, the rainy season, like Nigeria, Lagos has a hardcore rainy season that goes for 4 months, and a deluge comes from the sky for 4 months. It's so much rain. It's genuinely hard to explain how much rain can come down from the sky in one place without it reaching your window. So we were stuck there that summer, and I was just reading like a crazy person. After that, I was like, okay, I need to do something. This is actually not a productive way of living. And so I got a job at a local, a Syrian or Nigerian company, in sort of a procurement-y supply chain kind of undefined role, which lasted for a short amount of time, but culturally was a very difficult thing to do for a Western consultant in a Syrian-owned Nigerian company. So I left, and then that thing of James working full time and being very busy, and me not working, and maybe learning to not read with targets, and so, but still in a place that there aren't that many places, you can't go anywhere. And I'm an only child. I'm really good at hanging out with me. But we also had 2G internet, it was a different time, right? And then it started becoming obvious that it's I can do this, but I'm maybe not ready yet. It's too early to just lean into it. And we don't have children, and we didn't want children. So we're that I can't keep myself busy with that. That won't be my solution, which often in that environment would be, because if you have a baby, it's a pretty good environment to just be at home with your baby, right? And then at some point I was like, okay, I need to leave. I think there was some semi-hysterical crying on a plane from Thailand.
That sealed the deal.
I'm not a big crier. So James was like, oh wow, this means it. This is very weird. And this sort of spontaneous it's okay, maybe go to London for a bit. So I went back to London, saw my old boss, who then joined Vodafone, and then I went and worked as a consultant in Vodafone. I got the job, and I was like, sayonara. And then James came back.
I made a commitment to being transparent about the making of this podcast right from the start. So here's a quick update of the financial side. Season 4 of The Slowdown does not currently have a sponsor. I really want this podcast to bring to light people, stories, and approaches to life that I admire and don't often see in mainstream media. So I'm taking on the studio editing and making costs of this season myself. If you're a brand, or if you know a brand that cares about bringing honest and applicable career advice to people at all stages of their journey, please reach out. I'm eager to find the right partner, hopefully long-term, to help fund and continue the show so that it can keep growing. In the meantime, your comments, reviews, and shares of this episode are so important. If you're not already, hit subscribe, share this episode with a friend, drop a comment on Spotify, and a review on Apple. It really does make a difference and continues to inspire the change that we're hoping to make in slowing down. Thank you so much for your support. And then you stayed living in London, both working, doing these jobs.
Yeah.
What point were you then like, again, something has to give with our time?
Well, it was a funny thing, actually. It was our dog, Duke, the ledge. He was the guy.
When did you get Duke?
So Duke came in Nigeria. We got him in Nigeria in like it was born 2012. And so...
and Duke is a Rhodesian Ridgeback.
He's a Rhodesian Ridgeback. And he was, I called him the magical wonder hound. And he was amazing. It wasn't amazing if you were a Labrador. It wasn't amazing. but
if you were a human.
If you were a human and a friendly one to us, it's great. If not friendly, he was less cool. But so we got him. And I've grown up with dogs. James grew up with dogs. Like, it's a thing. Like,
a dog was always going to be part of your story.
It had to be. Like, we love dogs. It was going to be a thing. Nigeria was a good time, and obviously it's not super safe. So having a dog in the house is also like an additional thing, even though he would also sleep. Like, our bedrooms were divided, like the main area, and then there was a bulletproof door to the bedrooms in case someone came in with like guns. And so Duke would obviously be on the inside of the bulletproof door. So it's funny, like, we have the dog for protection, but we're all like hiding behind the bulletproof door. And so, but it was, so we came back to London, and it partly was a change for me because I was like, I'm no longer in a consultancy. I'm now in-house, which pays a lot better, but is not the same environment. Like, it's not as like consultants have, like, it's a really energetic environment, and like that's what's cool about it. Like, you know, like, you're in different places and you see different things. When in-house, it's a different world. You're still in the bureaucracy of that company, and James was working a lot, traveling a lot, and then we had the Duke. So when you live in London, what's cool about London is like, you put your clothes on in the morning, you go to work, you then go straight to dinner, then you go to drinks, whatever it is that you do, and then you come home whenever and go straight to bed, right? That's like how the city functions the best. Whereas when you have the big guy at home, like, you've got to go home after work, even though we had a dog walker that took him. One of us will then go home. He worked in Mayfair, I worked in Paddington, and we lived in Fulham. So one of us has to go back to Fulham, walk the dog. Then he's like, Mar, you're not home. And then feed him, and then be like, okay, I'm now going to go back out for dinner. That makes this city unlivable. Like, you can't. Like, you literally can't do that anymore. And now I'm stuck in a tiny flat with a big dog. It was like, we should have a garden that's bigger than this.
The dog's like side-eyeing your
yeah,
tiny
and he's
garden.
like, it's not big enough, that garden. Which is amusing, because when you have Ridgebacks and then you have big gardens, all they do is follow you around and never go in the garden. like James and I hunt for large gardens, and dogs are like, we don't care. And so I think after 2 years, and we'd actually been to South Africa for Christmas, New Year's, and we were like, what an amazing place. And again, time for a change, but this time more specific.
So, palm trees in Cape Town.
Cape Town. Well, the aim was, it was actually Joburg. So he goes to the interview for Joburg, gets the job. We both like leave our jobs, and we'd been down to Joburg to like see the place, found a house. We're like, we'll buy the house. Like, we are so in. Duke and I were going to come like a few months later. James was going to start like a month later. And we did the celebratory road trip from New Orleans to San Francisco through southern Texas. And as we land in Atlanta to go to New Orleans, they call and they're like, the founder of the company died. The job's in Geneva now. But we have no other jobs. So we're like, no. And then realized, we're like, wait, you can ski every weekend. And we're like, okay, fine.
Wait, just to understand this better, because I think it's key. People in the kind of work that James does in oil trading and commodities trading, you get moved around the world.
They could literally ask you to move tomorrow. I mean, it depends on like what region. He's an Africa guy, so it's either Africa or where he in Geneva, right? But other people in the company would be like, you're moving to Singapore, you move to Houston, and you go.
And a lot of that is set up similar to yours, where you're describing, where it's like, you've met your partner, you want to be with them, you want to spend time with them, you realize at some stage that actually their career makes more than enough money for you guys to sustain yourself. So then there's quite a lot of basically wives and partners of commodities traders who end up moving all over the world with their partners. Did you struggle with that sense of, this isn't my decision, I don't feel enough control over this? Or were you the spontaneous present part of you was like, great, this sounds like an adventure? Because I'm sure you'd in your mind created an idea of what life in Joburg would be like?
I'm spontaneous, but I'm rational. I take care of myself. I'm not reckless with myself. It makes sense why it plays out like this, right? It's like you look at my job would have meant traveling Monday to Friday. My husband mostly travels Monday to Friday.
And just for people to understand, when you say he travels Monday to Friday, he could be going to 3 different African countries Monday to Friday. It's not like he had to catch a train to Swindon.
No. Exactly. No. He's like flying intercontinental every week. There's a calculation to be made, which is like how much money do each of us make, right? Because there is a career thing. But then there's like the life thing, right? Like, you know, you need like a house and like stuff. And if you want to have kids, like, you know, like all of that is like a very, like, that's like the base calculation for life. It's like, how's life going to work out, right? And so you have to be like, who's going to be able to deliver this best? And if we both do it, what's the cost of it, right?
Right. What's the cost of how we spend time together or not?
By that point, like, I knew that the lifestyle of consulting and for a variety of different reasons, I didn't really enjoy it anymore. And I didn't like the fact that, like, as a consultant, like, you spend all this time awake forever, right? Working like a dog. And, like, they're probably not even going to use your solution. Like, it's just probably not even, like, they'll try and use it for a while and it falls over, or, like, they never do. So why did I stay awake for all that time? Like, there's no point, right? And so partly that. And then it's the thing of, like, if we're both running, and if you both love your jobs, I get it, right? But then, like, what does your, like, home space, what does that thing look like when you come home both on a Friday afternoon? You can, like, have a full-time housekeeper if you want. I mean, it's fine, but it becomes slightly less personal. One of us being here, especially for that giant dog, because we also can't leave him all week long because that would be cruel. It just becomes more logical that one's the racehorse and the other is the vet, right? Like, it just makes sense. And to, like, have, like, a nice environment to be in. And it's like everyone lives their own way. That's sort of the rational calculation. But of course, then there's ego, right? And then
that's the question. So my follow-up question is, you move to Geneva and suddenly you are one of the wives, the housewives that stay at home, which is so counterintuitive to your personality. You would go to, I assume, dinners, lunches with the wives. And also you would go to events where people would ask you, what do you do? And so for the first, like, few years of that experience, how did those situations make you feel? What was your response? Did you connect with and resonate to the other wives?
You know, it's funny. Actually, first of all, it's like you move. And when we moved, we arrived on a Sunday with the Duke and our car. And on Monday, James flies to Nigeria.
Right.
And James comes back on Friday. And then he does Monday, Friday, Nigeria for like 15 weeks. And I'm in Geneva. And okay, there's like, we have a little like car for like driving around town. I don't have a phone contract. I speak no French, right. And I know nothing. Like I don't know a single human.
This is pre like a social media app where you could make some friends and find a community or something.
I'm all alone at this point. Again, I'm an only child. I'm good at being alone. But by some point, by day 4 of the first week, I'm like, nobody I've spoken to knows my name. Like for 4 days, no one actually knows my name. Like, and I can't talk to anyone anyway because I don't speak French. And in central Geneva, everyone speaks English. But, you know, it's actually like a lot of loneliness in the beginning. And I'm not a very lonely person because I'm like, love hanging out with me so much that I'm not that lonely. But like, you are really like isolated and alone. And so the first challenge is actually is just solitude, right? Then eventually you get to know other people, but because the other people know each other. And you're
trying to fit into their already existing friendship social structure.
Yeah, and like, you know, it's somewhat like, it's cliquey, like the world is cliquey anyway, and that can be cliquey. I don't have kids, so if you had kids and they're in the same school, it's fine. But if you don't, how are you going to meet anyone? I don't. And so it was actually very hard in the beginning to like create a social life. And Geneva is not an easy place to create a social life either. Like that's like for anyone who lives there will attest to this. So that was probably the first struggle. And then it's like, then it was the thing of like, oh, I did everything right. You know, like I studied hard, I got good grades, I got the right jobs. I did it right. Like I did what I was supposed to do, right? And then I'm like, but it's not making me very happy. And so now what do I do? So then it was the time of like, how do I make peace with stepping out of that thing? Because like I did everything what I was supposed to do and it wasn't right. And then intellectually, like I know that it wasn't right for me. And I know it's not right for us. And I know strategically, for our life, it is better if I don't do it. And then, and it is actually like, it's actually really hard to change career. Like I did think about, but as like a supply chain consultant at my level, because I hadn't spent enough time, stepping into like an industry company is actually kind of hard, because they're like, oh, you're not a specialist at like this specific thing, because I hadn't spent enough time to be super specialized. So I was like, I don't want to do any of this, and I actually don't have to do any of it.
Right.
So
it's just ego.
Well, it's ego, but also you got to fill your days, right?
And purpose. And
that purpose is, that's the thing. It's like, what impact, like what, I don't know, what impact will I have?
Yes.
What memory, what legacy will I leave, right? And so, but all of it is also like, you look at life, it's like, and we talk about like success, right? And like that's an interesting word there, because like I don't have like my life. I'm successful at life, but I don't have a successful career, right? And it's okay.
How do you define success?
Success is about career, and I don't have a career, right? And that's just making peace with that. It's like, you don't have to have a career. Like, it took me like many years and many chats with myself, and like really a long time. Like it's actually comedic how long it took. And to this day, I'm like the one thing, I'm like, I walk into a room and you meet people, like a cocktail party or whatever it is, and like you meet people and you're like, don't tell them you were a consultant, because the thing is, when you say it, they're like, oh, okay, like you're not just a housewife, because that's that word. I'm like, like, and even to this day, I'm like, oh, it's hard. Like I know it's true, but like I can't. And so I'm like, don't say you're a consultant, and then I just hear the words fall out of my mouth. I'm like, fuck it, I did it again.
Because they assume it was like last year or something.
No, I can say I was. It's just that if you say you were, everyone's like, oh, okay, and you see their face change like every single time. If I don't say it, they're like trying to figure it out. And they're like, who are you? What are you? And as soon as you frame like yourself like that, like, okay.
They feel like they can put you in a box. It makes sense to them.
Yeah, but also like, and the response is better.
Right.
Like the way
like,
they speak
she's smart.
They speak to you better. Yeah.
Right.
Otherwise, you can also not say it and eventually get to the conclusion that you can still have plenty of things to like discuss and have in common. But
that initial judgment is so interesting. Like people determining whether they want to continue a conversation with you.
Pretty much, yeah.
Based on
definitely,
what do you do?
The other thing was short hair. I used to have long hair. I had long blonde hair, and I'm very straight. I'm a snake. And cutting it, I have better conversations with people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's true.
It's funny because we obviously spoke about that when I saw you last in Geneva, and this kind of awkwardness at dinner parties of not really knowing what to say, and your reaction, it's so visceral. Your like reaction to the word housewife, and to the idea of not having a career, and this like reflex in you that goes, oh well, I was a consultant, like you can't sit in the presence of like, this is what I do now. And so I remember at the time being like, well, can I write your bio? Because I'm insanely impressed by you and everything that you do. And I look up to your discipline and your presence so much. So can I read it to you?
You can.
Okay. Katri Josling is a philomath, constantly learning and excelling at everything from culinary chemistry and languages to boating and dance. She is the matriarch of 2 large Rhodesian ridgebacks, Zulu and Nala. She commands strength and leadership daily. She runs a multi-home, multi-sport household with precision and flair, managing everything from staff and logistics to diaries and domestic details. With husband James Josling, she curates a life marked by sharp skis, hot saunas, Michelin meals, and joyful, chaotic dinner parties. Katri is also a vibe, an important, rare, and often overlooked job. Intangible as it may be, it has led to a rich social life, a circle of great friends that regularly make the pilgrimage to Saas-Fee simply to relish in it. Also a verb, to be Katried, which is not something we've covered thus far, is to be unintentionally swept into an evening of intoxicating hospitality, persuasive pause and joyful excess, with inevitable consequences on your brain cells the next day. In short, Katri is a doing word. She does everything, and she does it probably better than you, with excellence, wit, and just enough danger to make it an unforgettable experience. How do you feel when something like that is read out about you? That doesn't mention the word consultant.
It doesn't, no. You know what? It's funny. It's like the nicest thing anyone's ever like said about me. it's funny because it's like, it's flattering that what I see is like a life that I'm very satisfied with, but I had to make peace with it, right?
Yeah.
Like really like knowing, be like, this is the right thing, but like, and then put the ego to bed and be like, calm down. Like your life isn't about the things you say at a cocktail party, they're actually about how much you enjoy your life.
Yes.
Like that is the reality of it.
It's not
right?
about other people's perception of your life either, or external validation.
No, or that moment when someone's like, oh, and then, oh, you do this. And you're like, and then you have to do it all day long. Some people love it, but like there's no world where like also being at work isn't stressful, right? And I'm not saying my life isn't sometimes stressful, like for other reasons, right? I know that this is the right solution for me. It's a great compliment to my life and my choices, and I would never see it that way. Over time, it's getting better, but reading that makes it a lot better.
Great.
I think. So it makes me happy.
Well, one of the like main things that you are, and you mentioned it, is this kind of architect, world builder of your life with James. And I think a real positive of that is hobbies. Yeah. I think people have become such generalists now that they've lost the concept of having a hobby just for the joy of doing a thing. So what are some of your main hobbies, and how do you actualize them in your life? Because I think it's important to stress, like, to want to heliski in Svalbard is something you really have to timetable.
Yes, it's actually, well, Svalbard actually can't fly. You've got a ski tour. You've got to haul your own ass up that mountain. I guess those things come, like, you know, where in many ways the hobbies are also like, I think in a relationship it's very important to try and have the same ones so you can spend time together, right? So we're lucky that we both like that. We live in Switzerland, so going to the mountains every weekend and having a place in the mountains during the season is how you spend time, like, and it's fantastic. So you get really good at it, but then also you have to be like, is this how I want to spend my time? You're taking risk, right? Because so like often when women have children, they do less of that because obviously the way you view risk is different, right? Even though we're with guides and etc., but you're still taking risk, right? So partly it's the natural incidence of these hobbies that James and I enjoy doing together. And then the other thing is like, I love details. I love them so much. I love details so much that when I talk, I go on a tangent and I forget what my initial point was because I need to tell you everything. And then I don't actually know what I was talking about. And so like, and I love details in everything. And I love cooking. And I did this like online, Harvard did this like online chemistry and physics of cooking course where I spent most of my time like calculating the distance between molecules rather than actually making the emulsion. But it does make the emulsion better. It's true. And so like, I will go to this level of detail because it's awesome. And I really want to know everything about stuff. So being this person and not having like a job, it means you're never bored because like there's always like something. And like, because I cook a lot, for example, I have to then like, I obviously have to make my own bread and then I have to like perfect the sourdough, and I make my own sourdough pizzas, but I also make my own passatas. And so then in August I need to be canning my tomatoes and so if you're like this, it's amazing how like much time you can spend. And I know that makes me happy. And that's why I'm like, now I joke about it. I'm like, oh my God, a job. Like I'm so busy. A job would get so deeply in the way of my life because I'm so busy. And like, so I think I'm lucky like that. I feel like I use my time well, but I just find it very hard to explain that, you know?
So
that's
you
hard.
Say top 3 hobbies are cooking and food.
Cooking for sure.
Skiing, mountain, everything related to mountains.
Yeah. And I think a lot of like, travel, adventure travel, like James and I travel a lot and we love doing the same things and like going to like new places and like that's, I think, yeah, like, and I'm very much a novelty person. And like you said, sort of like the world builder thing is also like, I'm like, I always want like more or better. I like going to a room and like, it needs something, you know, like, and James laughs because he's like, can you just like stop buying shit? And like, but actually being like this, it's like, you can build a world, right? And it's like not about being like just like incessantly buying stuff, but it's like a room can be great with a few things, but you can make it really good with like a few more plants and some more things, right? You know, like building the world and be like, oh, in our garden, like you can have this corner. And so like for that reason, it's the same as like we love traveling and seeing new things. It's again, the more, like I want to see more. I want to find out more because I just want to know more. And that's I guess is like the big, yeah.
And, you know, you've touched on it a couple of times, the fact that you guys don't have kids. And I was wondering if you'd be willing to share your thought process and decision together to decide that.
Yeah, it's well, it's interesting. I think it's like different our reasons are different, right? But obviously when you have this viewpoint and when you feel like this, you need to talk about it before you get married. And obviously we didn't have like that much time before we got married.
And you might change your mind when you're 25 to when you're 35.
But the thing about having kids and not having kids is if you don't have them, you think all the time about them, whether you want them. And if you do have them, you're never going to be like, I wish I didn't have you. Like, you know, that's not how it works, right? So like when you don't have kids, you're constantly querying whether you should be having children, like all the time. And so like, you're never going to be like, we decided something at 25 and oh my God, I'm 43 and I can't have kids. Like, that's not how it goes down, right? There's like, you know, things happen in life that test that. And like, you know, for sure. And if you get to this age, like at 41, like, I know for sure. But it's like, but as far as like, you know, I think James's reasons maybe are different to mine, but I'm like, I just like, and I've thought about this a lot and I'm like, what, you know, is this like a weird thing, a family thing, whatever? But really, it's like, for me, it's independence, right? And I'm like, everything, all these choices that adults make together, like choosing to get married is a choice and we can also dissolve it. That's a choice. Ultimate freedom is like my solitude or like me being like I can choose to I have lots of people that I care about and are like not dependent on me, but like, you know, we make these choices together. A child is dependent on you in a way that you're like, that to me, like strangles my solitude and my freedom, like me being me, right? And that's, and that I've thought about a lot over the years. And like, you can't think your way out of that.
Fair enough.
You know, and then you get to have more hobbies.
Yeah, and you're a great godmother and all of those other things. I think there's a real case to be made for like mothering as a concept.
I think I'm like a grandmother. I think I'm a granny. Like I miss the mother bit, but I think I'm like a granny to everyone. That's probably true.
And you know, we mentioned this before, but like where are you at with other people's opinions of what you do now?
Well, I think in terms of like other people's opinions, it's weird because like it's not other people's opinions, it's the way I viewed the problem was always me, right? Like, me making peace with how I view the world, like and how I think about things. So, and actually when I tell people now, like obviously I get like wildly awkward, right? When someone's like, what do you do? I just like burst out laughing now. When someone asks me what I do, I just like literally just start laughing. And they're like, oh God. I'm like, no, it's fine. So I make it so insane that it's like, it's comedic, right? And then I try and explain the feel of my thing, but then I just like, don't take myself seriously. And it just
like, here's a Latin word that means lifelong learner. How do I explain this to you?
Exactly. And they're like, then I start laughing. And so that's weird. So
what terminology do you use? Do you say, I world build?
Oh God, I like
with
that.
James.
I know. And like, but it's hard to also say that because then like you run the great risk of sounding like a total douche, right? Which is also dangerous.
So is there any wording that you're comfortable with?
I think I sort of muddle my way through it and giggle my way through it and try and talk about like other things. I think is probably with some people, and then some people I'm more relaxed about it, and then it's fine. And like people generally are like, well, that's great. Like
I love this point of most people don't care. It's your own reaction, your own perspective. Yes,
exactly. And like my judgments, right? Clearly that I'm like, and
they're
also
a mirror.
Well, yeah, and also like sometimes like no one can beat you up as hard as you can beat yourself up, right? Like, you know, so there's sometimes some subjects you're like, oh, like I'm, you know, one can be one's harshest critic, right? But so like I do feel much more peaceful. Like it's because the thing of like, it's just the ego, and it's just like by now I think like it was harder at like 33, whereas now I'm like 41, and like everyone's more peaceful at 40 anyway about everything. Like you just have to make peace with who you are, like because. If you're still fighting with yourself now, oh my God, it's such a long time.
Well, the follow-up as well, as you mentioned earlier, you know, people think about legacy when it comes to career. But have you redefined legacy for yourself? Because as somebody that has a bit more expendable income, you also invest a lot in charities and project work and stuff. So how do you see legacy now? How do you see or have you completely gone, I'm just a drop in the ocean. I'm going to have the most fun I can while I'm here, and that's it?
No. And I think that's the thing is like for the longest time I try to sort of, there's like one thing that is like, I feel like is a big failure on my part and it has to be fixed and is in the process currently of trying to be fixed, is that it's true. Like I have time and income to obviously to give to charity, but also like a lot of it is also, I have time, right? And I haven't done enough of that kind of work. I haven't, and I would like to do that. Like I don't actually want to go and work for a company because I fundamentally do not care about companies, which is funny for someone who's a consultant. I like fundamentally don't care. Money's useful in life, but I don't love money. Like some people just love money, right? And so, but what I do feel very passionately about is, you know, spending one's time doing something good for people. And you know, the time has come, and it definitely has come. Donate my time to work foundations that work with like education in Africa for children, like female education. I'm very passionate about, right? And so things like this, for sure, like now is the time to start. And that's sort of like the commitment I made to myself. I'm like, do more for others. That, like, you know, I can still do my sourdough and do that. You know, it's true. And like, you know, and it's like I could be in a soup kitchen and give soup, but maybe I have a better use of my time that could create more value for
impact,
someone. Yeah. So I feel like that's my next decade for sure. Hopefully I can leave a legacy that is more than just having a vibe and making some really good sourdough,
which is also really important.
It is important.
And that is the micro experience with you. Like, obviously you create an incredible environment for people to come and visit, but we've kind of talked about your journey on a very macro level, like the broad strokes, but I'm also really interested on the slowdown, about ways in our day-to-day that we can slow down between decisions, because I think I kind of race through everything and I catastrophize and I get anxious and I get overworked and I've had burnout. So I'm wondering if you've developed over the years any tips or tricks to slow down in your day-to-day. Because, you know, the idea of the housewife is that you don't do anything, but when you're Katri, you are reading books, you're running up a mountain to get goat's cheese, you're making sourdough, you're creating 3 incredible meals a day, you're then off skiing, you're then doing this, you're getting a boating license to then be able to do that. So you have loads of things happening, and obviously managing all of those like properties and people and things. If there is like an overwhelming amount of admin and different stuff to do, how do you slow down?
I think that's one of those things, and it's funny because what you said about, you know, like burnout and like to-do lists, and like I think you're very much like my husband. Like the to-do list will never end, right? Like never. And I see it in you. It's always going. But it's funny with James is also like that, and it's like, and I think that's because I'm very present as a person. Like I'm a here and now person, and I plan. But because I plan a lot, I literally like section things. With James, I'm like, does it need to be done right now? Like, when does it need to be done? And he's like, yeah, but I might as well get it done. I'm like, but no, you're just going to do the eternal list. Understand that the list will never run out. Like, and he's like, yeah, but I'm like, it will never stop. You will add things to the list. And it's like, and life, like there's an eternal amount of admin you can do until the day you die. Like, it's just die doing admin, right? Whereas I'm very much like, okay, like I prioritize very well. I was a process consultant, right? Like I know how to order things to be most efficient, and I can be really fast when I need to do them. But I can also be like, that does not need to be done now. It feels very productive and nice to do everything forever, right? But also, like, if you do that, you will burn out. I have this really long to-do list, but actually today's things that just have to be done today are done. And if tomorrow's things can fit into tomorrow, then do them tomorrow. There's no point in bringing them into today, because today's Sunday, and then Monday you're going to do Tuesday's things, and then you're just going to add more stuff. So it's like, you know, like you have to steal time from your life the whole time, because if you don't, it just like, as we get older also, like there's just more boring shit you have to do. Like when you're like 20, you don't have like cars and houses and crap, like, you know, all this stuff, like it goes on forever, right? And so yeah, I just like plan your time.
How do you decide between I need to do this or I want to do this? Because some people might have a cook at home to make them 3 meals a day, but you enjoy the process of doing that, versus these are tasks I need to outsource to somebody else. Like, how do you delineate?
It's prioritization, right? Do I want to do it, and do I have to do it? And can I trust that person to do it well and fast? If it takes me the same amount, and like I was never at work that good at delegating, because sometimes you're like, it takes you the same amount of time to correct it, I might as well just do it myself.
That's my struggle is I tend to do everything because I'm like, by the time I explain it to you,
like I might as well do it. But then you have no time.
But then there's definitely a case for, well, you teach the person once.
Exactly.
And then they can do that task.
Exactly. Even maybe you teach them 3 times, but it's not like you doing it forever, because the other scenario is just doing it forever yourself.
I also had someone recently tell me they might not do it as well as you, but even if it's 20% less good, isn't that better to free up your time?
Well, then also it depends on what the thing is, right? Like
Right,
it's also about like, give it a grade. You're like, do you need a pass or do you need an A, right?
Yeah.
If you don't need an A, just get a pass.
Yes.
And that's very hard. Like I also struggle with that because when I do something, I'm like, I have to be the best. And then I'm like, but you don't. You just need to scrape through. So you just don't need to make that much effort. You just need to get through. Give tasks a grade. Do they need to pass or do they need to be an A? And is it for you or is it for someone else? And to be honest, like that's the thing, right? Everything doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be now. It just needs to be done when it needs to be done. That's it.
The last question that I ask everybody is, if I had to watch one film or read one book or go and see one piece of art that would help me understand you better, what would it be?
Oh my God, what a good question. This is going to sound insane. I want to say Team America.
The movie.
The movie.
Explain.
Because I think like it has usually, it's got this ridiculous comedic way of like presenting things but actually has a good point. And I sometimes feel like that about myself. Like I turn everything into a joke when it probably shouldn't be.
But the essence.
But there's a good point.
Is true.
It's true. And it's a good point. And I think I'm right a lot of the time about most things. I really do think, which my same, right? But it's like, it comes with like, with a performance, right? Like, I think that's the thing, like, you know, from everything, I think there's like this sort of slightly comedic, but also like a performance that underneath is actually quite normal.
When did you first watch that film?
Oh my God, I've seen it like at least 200 times. I love it so much. Like my favorite film. It came out in 05, right? Or 06, maybe something like 05, I think. I was in Moscow. It is one of the most intelligent points, well made, of a political environment at the time through this hilarious comedic lens of these ridiculous puppets. It is so good in every way, like in every way. To make such a good point like that, I just think is so impressive. And so it's the first thing that came to mind. And I love them, so.
I love that for you. Is there anything else that you feel like we haven't covered or you'd like to share about this theme of redefining success for yourself on your own terms, to slowing down in your day-to-day, in your life, legacy?
And I think a lot about the word success, right? And the use of the word success, because also like success can mean different things, but also success kind of means like one thing, right? Be it fame or fortune. Like really, that is that word. And then, you know, and that's
But
okay.
it isn't. That's the interesting thing. Like success can be, I had a really successful day of rest. The actual dictionary definition of the word success is not linked to career, but I think our social structure and our society has made it so linked to career and money and fame. But it's like, it's our job to disentangle that. And I remember once someone saying, you know, define success. And I was like, okay. It is where you all have the same metrics. Like university is a great example. You can kind of all enter this university, and then whoever does the best, that's success, because it's like you've all gone in, you're all doing the same program. There's some sort of like qualifier that proves that you are this, like getting an Oscar, getting a Nobel Prize, like this thing where society pits you against other humans. And my friend that asked me was like, wow, like that is very intense as an answer. And so then I kind of recalibrated and I was like, okay, success to me. And I was like, mentoring. Like making someone laugh today. You know, feeling like I've gone to bed and I feel at peace.
I also think of like success in life. It's like, you know, you need to be able to enjoy most of your days. If you enjoy 100% of the time, then it's just normal and that's boring. And so you need ups and downs and you need to be bored. Everything can't be perfect because that's weird. And then it's like, you know, like what are metrics of success for you? Like, you know, I try not to be an asshole. Like I want to be nice to people and I want to help people. I don't yell at strangers. Like, you know, it's like...
And I agree. I think those are like good metrics of success that we have lost because we have only defined it as this like certain thing.
And which is also almost like a train that you plow through people to win. And you're just like, well, now you're actually just...
You're not succeeding on the being nice part.
Well, no, or being a good person. Like you're just actually like not a good person. It's also like, looking at one's life like with a bigger lens more than...
Is there a word that you prefer, like fulfillment or happiness?
I think fulfillment and being like content with your... I think the biggest thing is like how do we feel good? It's like, are you happy with what you've done?
Yes. And are you happy with what you've done?
I'm happy with what I've done. And then that's why it's like, you know, it's easier and easier to bat the ego away because like I know I'm right. And ego is just this little thing talking to you, these little insecurities that someone else put into you, or this society has told you that it should be, and you're like, it's just noise. Actually, it's like, are you truly happy and content with like how your life plays out? And I am very content. I'm happy with my choices, and I do things that I want to do that fulfill me. I have time to learn things, do new things. Like, this is for me the right life, but it doesn't mean it's the right life for everyone. And for like 3 years, my husband didn't work, and he's insane because he's running through to-do lists for like next month, and I'm like, why are you doing this? You don't have a job. And like, I sometimes furiously typing, I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, oh. And
he couldn't sit still in that time at all.
And so I'm like, well, why don't you just go back to work? Because like, you clearly need a job. Like, whereas like, I don't need a job.
He's better
because
suited.
I'm not that person.
Yeah.
Or it's too soon. He wasn't ready for it. I think I wasn't ready the first time when I was reading books on like timelines. Like, I wasn't ready, and like, now I'm ready.
But I love that you have that acceptance of each other, and the fact that you could desire him to, like, you could be at home going, when are you going to stop working? When are you going to stop working so that we can spend more time together? And actually that you had those few years of experience where he took a bit of a prolonged sabbatical, let's say.
Let's call it that.
Let's call it that. He, you know, you could sense a tension that it was unresolved, that he wasn't finished, that he, you know, his personality didn't suit it. That you're like, yeah, like go back to work, go back to like flying every week, and then and do it when you're ready. Like, exactly. Is that level of acceptance? And maybe you're never ready. Is that something you always had for each other, or is that something you've built?
I think also, well, partly it's like we've been married for, this year will be 14 years, so it's a very long time. By this point, I'm like, if I don't know who you are by now, never gonna
We've got a problem.
Yeah, like, I mean, like, by now we know. And the other thing is also, I think, like, I've always been of the view, because I'm quite an independent person, right? People just feel like, because we're married, I get to now change you. And like, I get to now tell you to do this differently because we're married. And it's like, well, no, you have to live and let live. And you only go like, you need to change this if it's literally like starting to like really really affect me, right? Because like, if it doesn't bother me, it's fine. Like, it's like, you know, people have weird habits, like, just do your weird thing. Like, as long as it doesn't impact me, like, you do your thing. And if of course his work impacts me because he's not home as much. I've also been married for 14 years, so me time is cool too.
Then you're like, if it makes him happy and it creates this balance.
Well, because otherwise is the traveling worse, or is his unhappiness and restlessness worse? You've got to pick, right?
Yeah.
You got to pick the one that's less bad. And it's like, him being satisfied and happy makes us more happy. So that's a better choice, right? You got to weigh up your like risks. Like, you're always weighing like, what's your best decision, right? Like, you're just happier.
And nothing's perfect, so you have to choose what works for you.
And then it's
within what's available.
Exactly. You have to choose within what's available, and then try and maximize within what's available. You can always change things. Like, the only thing you can't change is like creating a child. Like, other than that, you can pretty much change anything, right? And so that's a better way of being. And then it's also like a mindset, like, I don't know if both James and I, like, we're people that are always like chuffed with our decisions. I don't know if we make the best ones, but we're delighted. And so
that's really super important, that you're not second guessing yourselves and worrying, that you're just like,
never. And he's a bit more like it, but because I'm so present, I'm like, well, it's very clear right now what we need to do today, because we only have these choices. And then I'm usually pretty satisfied, because I'm like, oh, but that would have been like, you know, your scenario plan. You're like, well, that would have been, well. And so I think I'm naturally just like satisfied in the present of whatever it is that like I'm doing. And if I'm not satisfied, I immediately change it. I can't sit in like dissatisfaction. Like, then I start spinning, and then I quickly plan my way out of it, and then I'm happy again. It's really good.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm so glad that we could have this conversation and this time together, and that you were in London and able to join me.
Oh, well, thank you. It was really fun. And yeah, what a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in. This episode has been hosted and created by me, Tiana Tambridge. Produced by Whitney Rosenthal, sound and video production and recorded at Brazen Studios, cover art design by Natalia Ruhe. Please subscribe to The Slowdown to be notified of upcoming episodes, tell a friend, and leave a review. It really does help a new podcast like this get out in the world. And remember, we're all heading to the same destination, and there is no prize for getting there early, so we might as well slow down.